The Vethkara Collective had conquered 47 star systems in 112 years. They had never met a species that sent a single unarmed female through a transit gate as its first diplomatic contact. Ambassador Yara Solis stepped through the shimmering aperture on Vethkara Station Dreadnought 9 and immediately assessed three things. The air tasted of sulfur and machine oil. Gravity was running at approximately 1.3 g, and the four massive predators flanking the receiving platform were not honor guards. They were executioners. She had read the briefing. Everyone who met the Vethkara through the transit gates was given a choice in the first 30 seconds: submit or be consumed. It was not metaphorical. The Hound-class enforcers, called Rethkai in their tongue, were the Collective's living punctuation marks. Sentence. Period. The four Rethkai were each roughly the size of a transit shuttle. Hexapital, armored in bioluminescent carapace that pulsed deep violet. Their mandibles dripped with something that sizzled where it struck the deck plating. Yara clasped her hands behind her back, tilted her head 40 degrees, and made direct eye contact with the nearest one. The Rethkai froze. Vethkara biology had no concept of staring down a predator. No species had ever tried. The relevant neural wiring for parsing the behavior simply did not exist in their threat assessment modules. Behind her, through the still-open gate, came four more shapes. The first was Sergeant Dimitri Okonkwo. He was 6'4", built like a weapons locker, and wearing full exo-armor painted matte black. In his left hand, he carried a weapon the Vethkara database had no classification for. In his right, a thermos of coffee. He sipped from it without breaking stride, studied the Rethkai like they were mildly interesting geological formations, and moved to stand behind Yara's left shoulder. The second was Dr. Patience Obi, xenobiologist. She already had a scanner running, pointed directly at the nearest Rethkai, narrating notes into her earpiece with the clinical detachment of someone cataloging soil samples. She waved distractedly at the executioners and stepped to Yara's right. The third was Chief Engineer Tomas Rivas. He walked in looking upward at the station's ceiling architecture, completely ignoring the creatures, making quiet approving sounds at the structural engineering while pulling out a small stylus to sketch something in a battered notebook. The fourth was Corporal Adiz Mwangi, 18 years old, on her first off-world assignment, who took one look at the Rethkai, turned to Okonkwo, and said, "Do they bite?" "Probably," Okonkwo said, sipping his coffee. "Cool," she said, and stood at parade rest. The silence that followed lasted 11 seconds. In Vethkara diplomatic history, no silence in an execution chamber had ever lasted more than 2. The supreme coordinating voice of the collective, Archspeaker Svethon, watched from an observation platform above. He had overseen 47 first contacts. He had never seen anything like this. He opened a channel to his chief biologist. "Analysis," he said. "They are not fleeing," the biologist replied. "The large male is consuming a liquid. The female is cataloging our Rethkai in what appears to be a scientific database. The young female is asking questions. The one sketching appears to be critiquing our structural supports. Are they impaired? Unknown. They are showing none of the standard fear responses. No elevated movement. No submission posturing. The ambassador is maintaining direct ocular contact with Rethkai primary. It has not moved in 9 seconds. Svethon was deeply unsettled. Why has it not moved? We believe, his biologist said carefully, it does not know what to do. Downstairs, Yara finally broke the silence. Archspeaker Svethon, she called out, loud enough to carry to the observation deck, not looking away from the Rethkai. My name is Ambassador Yara Solis. I represent the Terran Accord, 82 inhabited systems, and approximately 40 billion humans. I'd like to talk about your expansion trajectory into the Kepler corridor. I have a proposal I think you'll find genuinely interesting. She paused. I'd also suggest calling your Rethkai to heal before one of them startles my engineer. He has strong feelings about poor load-bearing calculations, and I can't always predict where that goes. Rivas, without looking up from his sketch, said flatly, these support struts should not be holding at this stress rating. Whoever designed this station was optimistic to the point of recklessness. Okonkwo finished his coffee, tucked the thermos under his arm, and shifted his weapon to a two-handed grip, not pointed at anything, just resting there, comfortable as a walking stick. The Rethkai primary, for the first time in its operational existence, took one step backward. Zvethon descended. He was enormous, even by Vethkara standards, 17 feet of overlapping carapace and neural cluster arrays. He walked to the edge of the execution floor and looked down at the 5 humans. "You do not fear us," he said. It was not a question. It was close to an accusation. "We fear plenty of things," Yara said. She finally looked away from the Rethkai and looked up at Zvethon. "We're just not scared of you specifically. We have ended 47 civilizations. We know." She reached into her coat and produced a data tablet. "We've reviewed all 47. Detailed postmortems. We found patterns." She held the tablet up. "You're very good at breaking things that don't push back. Your models don't account for adaptive escalation. We've been running projections on what a Veth-Terran conflict actually looks like, and Archspeaker, I want to save us both a tremendous amount of time and tragedy." Zvethon descended the remaining steps until he stood on the floor of the chamber, 10 feet from Yara. The size differential was immense. He could consume her in 2 movements. She did not step back. "You came through the gate with no warships in support," he said. "We have warships," Yara said simply. "We left them home." This seemed like a conversation problem, not a weapons problem. She tilted her head again, that same 40-degree angle. "Unless you'd prefer a weapons problem. My sergeant is very good at those." "The best," Okonkwo confirmed, pleasantly. Zvethon was quiet for a long moment. His neural clusters processed in cascades. This was not how species presented themselves. Species came through gates with armadas, or with tributes, or with pleas. They shook. They made submission gestures. They died, or they begged. These 5 people stood in his execution chamber like they were early for a meeting. "What is your proposal?" he said. Yara smiled. It was a small smile, precise and practiced. "The Kepler corridor has 17 transit-capable systems. You want 3 of them. We want 12. We can agree on 17 if we talk about joint infrastructure." She walked toward him, data tablet extended. "I've marked the projection models. The math is clear. Cooperation nets both our peoples an order of magnitude more than conflict. You're intelligent beings. So are we." She held his gaze, steady as a star. "Let's behave like it." Zvethon took the tablet. Behind him, the Rethkai, all 4 of them, had retreated to the walls of the chamber. Not in fear exactly. In something no Vethkara behavioral text had a word for. Something adjacent to recognition. Later, in the historical record, the first contact between the Vethkara collective and the Terran Accord would be described by Vethkara historians as the day the small pale creatures walked through the Death Gate and made the Rethkai move aside. It would become, for the Vethkara, a warning passed down to every generation. When humans arrive without weapons visible, do not mistake stillness for weakness. When they arrive calm, do not mistake calm for ignorance. When they look at you without fear, understand that they have already calculated the outcome and they walked in anyway. That is the most dangerous thing in the known universe. Not the ones who don't know what will happen. The ones who do, and come anyway.